Honk.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video on CKN. Today my special guest is Suzanne Salhaney from season 3 of Cobra Kai, who played Caroline, one of the nurses. Suzanne, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you so very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for having me. I feel very blessed and honored to be chosen to be on your show today.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So yeah, just before we before we went live, we were just talking briefly about the big three and how great they've done with Cobra Kai. So just to start this off, pretty much, tell me your thoughts on Cobra Kai season 3.
Oh, it's amazing. I knew what was going to happen in, of course, my episode, but just the momentum, of everything over the last several months, I was so excited. Incredible. Yeah, they had some, especially with the little cliffhanger at season 2, at the end. I couldn't wait to see what was going to really happen and what was going on after my scene as well. So, yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
I mean,
they did it.
I remember. Oh, for sure. I remember we were talking when we were organizing this, you couldn't speak about that specific scene you were with a specific character. And we all know that character now as Johnny Lawrence. Obviously, the influence of Mashio and Zabka with the show is unreal. This all started off as an 80s cult classic, you could say. And then it went on to having a trilogy, and then they had a 4th movie, and then even a reboot. And now we're here talking about Cobra Kai. What attracted you to being part of this universe?
Well, back in the 80s, I don't know. I watched it. My children watched it. It's just such an iconic show. And to have a spinoff and it really go well. I mean, I hate to say this. There's some spinoffs that you kind of go, okay, what was that about?
Yeah.
But this one had great storyline, great writing. Of course, the big three, John, Josh, and Hayden, are amazing. They did it justice very, very well. Very well. So,
sure.
How can you not be excited about this?
Yeah, I just think it's so rare to see a film like that get the success it did, maybe on a bigger scale, because we're in an era now where we have things like Netflix, streaming services, and obviously social media. So this show gets way more exposure, and in a way, it's almost giving Karate Kid more audience as well, because from the whole scene with the movie industry was very different back then. Now it's just, 40 years later, it's huge. It's got even bigger, as it was, and it's I'm just so glad that we've had the big three, John, Josh, and Hayden, come back to create the show, and of course Billy Zabka and Ralph Macchio being part of that too. So what was it like meeting Billy for the first time? I'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah, it was a little surreal, watching him on The Karate Kid to walking on set and seeing this person, it was a little bit of, okay, am I really meeting him? He's an amazing actor and a wonderful human being. He tries to make everybody feel welcome. You don't feel like you're, below anybody. I mentioned this before in an interview that you go on and everybody makes you feel like you're part of the Cobra Kai family, no matter how big or small your part is. That's what touched my heart so much. And when Billy introduced himself, it was like, hey, Suze, how are you? Let's get this thing going. Okay, great. I'm ready.
Oh, man. Did you know when you got the audition and everything, did you initially know you're going to be working with Zabka, or was it more of like when you got the part, you're going to be working with Zabka?
Well, when I got the script, they're called sides, which are only our part. I knew it was with Billy, and I knew it was just with him alone. So that was really cool. Although I would have met all the other actors, they're amazing. but yeah, so I knew exactly that my scene was with him, and I was a little nervous. I won't lie, kind of
Sure, yeah.
one thing, but no, he made me feel at ease. It was wonderful.
That's great. I mean, like one thing I have to reiterate is what you were saying about the way they make everyone feel the same. I think that's so good because I've heard this from countless cast members that this show, the camaraderie and the way people come together, it's so unique and special. And I feel with any type of show that's successful, you need that. And you can see the passion through the three writers because they were big Karate Kid fans growing up, like yourself perhaps. And they, that's kind of rubbed onto everyone else that's part of the show. And I love the humbleness. I love that. When I watch Cobra Kai, I don't, when you watch films, you think of these big actors, these big names, and, you feel like there's an ego there. And perhaps it is, maybe even with the director. But with this show, writers, cast members, no matter how big or small they are, there's no sense of that. Like I love the show even more for that reason. And the more and more I talk to an individual like yourself or anyone that's part of the show, it just strengthens my love for the show because we love seeing people like that in this industry. We don't want to see egos and people full of themselves. Like I think that's the great part of the show, and we obviously all appreciate that. So being in this industry, like, what's your motivation as an actress?
Oh, I just got chills. I love it. I wanted to do this since I was a little girl. And, I pursued it a little bit in my 20s, but then I got married, had children, came back to it, believe it or not, in my 40s. So it's what gets me up every day. It is such a high. And I know people laugh at when I say that. It's a high to me because, you just get into these characters and you can lose yourself and become something that, in certain characters that you're really not, but you bring that character alive. And sometimes I can go pretty deep in there. I have to
sure, yeah.
get myself back out a little bit. It's a lot of fun.
I think it's good that you it's like you have a deep connection with this. I mean, at the end of the day, this is what you're passionate about. And I'm young, I'm only 21, so I'm still trying to, have that mindset, don't want to lose that, and just apply that, when I get older. And I think it's so great to hear that. No matter how cheesy it sounds, no matter if people laugh, like, so what? Like, you're successful, you're doing well. So, I mean, I feel like the overriding thing is you can't let anything get in the way of what you love doing. It's like even me with this channel, you're always going to have something or someone try and be an obstacle, right? And you just got to get over that. And obviously you got over that obstacle because you said you kind of went out for a bit and then you went back to it. And this is what you always wanted to do. So you were always going to come back to do this because you loved it that much. And I'm very happy. I'm glad for you.
Thank you. And it's an incredible honor to be a part of this industry. It's hard. I don't think people really truly understand. I get text messages or emails or sometimes DMs and they go, "Oh, I want to do that." Me too. It's hard. I'm with a great agency, Atlanta Models and Talent here in Atlanta, Georgia. They're an incredible agency. They treat me well. I get called out for a lot of auditions. So there's a lot of no's. And, I remember a statement that George Clooney had made that I was watching one time. And he said, when you get upset or depressed or sad because you didn't get that part, he said, you didn't have it in the first place. So what are y'all upset about? His personality.
Yeah, right.
And I thought, well, that's so true. We go through thousands of auditions to get, maybe a handful of maybe callbacks or then down to maybe 2 actual bookings. So it's a tough industry. A lot of no's. You have to have really thick skin. It took me a while to go next, go on to the next one.
Right. I mean, I've heard that before, that it can be it's very competitive, this industry, from what I've learned. And like you said, there'll be a lot of rejection, and like you said, you need that thick skin. I feel it must be a little bit of a relief at the same time when not only you're happy to audition and then you finally get that part, but it must be a relief in the sense, like, let's say you've been rejected like 20 times prior to that audition, and then that's sort of like your break, like you're sort of getting that, exact role that you wanted to go for. Like, it's so important to stay motivated, because I'm assuming like a lot of actors, like you said, they give up. They're like, oh, I'm not going to do it anymore. And then there's some actors who got to the top, like Ralph and Billy, for example, with Karate Kid, and they still did well, over the last 30 years. And then you kind of didn't hear from them, and a lot of people were worried, like, why aren't they getting roles? Why isn't that happening? But then Cobra Kai came, and like I feel like that impact that they had with Karate Kid is like it's back up there now, and like you're almost like it's like you're on a mountain, right? And then you kind of have a bit of a slope, and then you get back up there. Like, how do you stay motivated as an actress so you don't lose that passion and that drive for what you do?
I just studying, staying current. I actually watch, believe it or not, I have my TV on all the time. I'm always watching movies and watching TV shows and keeping very current with what's on now, because I never know when I'm going to get called in for an audition. So I do a lot of research. And I think that it keeps me motivated to see, okay, well, The Resident just came out, this season it's one of my, Opals, Ozark, all these wonderful shows, hoping to get back on Cobra Kai season 4, 5, 6, whatever. But yeah, I try to stay as current as I can. I do tape actors in my studio here. And I love that, because even though I'm not auditioning, I'm auditioning with that person who I can say, okay, well, we're auditioning for, Ozark or Resident or, whatever shows or movie, Marvel or one of the others that are out there, and see what they're doing and play back and forth. It's cool. It's cool. Right. So sometimes you feel a little stale if you're not doing anything, and then having them there, you're playing off of each other. So that's fun.
Right. It's like that must keep you engaged. And like you said, even if you're not literally auditioning for it, you're still part of that. It almost must feel like an audition for you. So as an actress, like, what inspired you to actually become an actress? Obviously you said at a young age you wanted to, but what you kind of said about it, but we'll go more into detail, like what really inspired you to act and express yourself?
Well, I started out, I think at the age of maybe 3 or 4, my mother put me in dance, and I knew almost immediately I liked performing. I liked getting up there on stage and kind of stepping outside of myself, even at a young age, not really understanding fully what it was, but it was really cool, and so I know sometimes you see these little videos on Facebook or Instagram where these little kids are up there and everyone's standing doing nothing. And then there's that one that stands out that gets quirky and dances and, their hands in their mouth. That was kind of me. I was the crazy one. I love putting on little mini shows for a nickel in the neighborhood. And as I got older, I dreamt about it. Unfortunately for me, I didn't really know where to go. I was living in a smaller town. I wasn't in LA or New York. And I thought, how can you do this? But when I was a little bit older, I started dancing professionally and traveling. And then I started, kind of tapping into that world of acting and auditioning for things. And then again, like I said, things happen. I got married, had kids, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. But after my kids were basically out of the house, I said, it's time for me again. It's time for me to get out there and explore. So.
Well, good for you. I'm very glad that you're here now with it, and obviously you come far with where you've got, and obviously you're now being in Cobra Kai. So let's talk about that scene with you and Johnny, because a lot of people love that scene. They love I love the way Johnny talks to you, like, oh, big bad girl, let me in. Like, it's brilliant. Was there any improv, or was that always the final scene?
So I have a cute little story. I had to go out of town to take care of my mother who was ill. And at the time, I told my agents, I'm booked out. It's just not going to be feasible for me to do anything. Typically, people, when they go on vacation or they travel, you can take your equipment and do auditions. But this was a time that my mother was incredibly ill. I didn't know how long she was going to be here. So I said, I'm booked out. And maybe a day later, I get an audition for Cobra Kai.
Wow.
And they said, casting would like for you to read for this. So is there any possibility? I scrambled. I have a wonderful niece who loves Cobra Kai. And I called her and I said, I'm coming over. I need to borrow some clothes and I need for you to get your camera out. And she's like, let's do it. So I raced over there. We worked on the scene a little bit and we shot it up against a blank wall with an iPhone,
Oh.
So we did it. And the scene was a little bit different.
Okay.
So yeah, it didn't have all the, come on, be a bad girl and excess stuff. So it was a little bit different. We did the audition. I turned it in and really never thought another thing until I got back home. I had literally been on the airplane, landed, was in my car and got the email. And I just had to stop and scream because I thought, wait a minute, I did this up against, professional lighting, just an iPhone, and I'm always very cautious and careful about how I do my auditions in my professional studio with lighting and a 4K camera, the whole thing. So it was pretty exciting. And I called my niece immediately and I said, you did a good job. The read was wonderful. But getting on set, I said my lines and almost immediately he started playing a little bit and I could tell he was improvising. And as an actor, you just have to go with it,
Yeah.
And when he said it, I think my eyes kind of bugged out a little bit. I wasn't expecting, kind of leaned in, winked, I was like, okay, first of all, he's really attractive. So I'm like, happily married he is. But the point is it was, It stumped me a little bit, but I just kept on going, kind of had a little look at the director, like, keep on going. Next time, added a little bit more. So, he's got that leverage. He can do that at his stage of career. Not quite sure I'm ready to do that yet, but it was fun. That's the thing. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
So. It must be really like, it is a big risk. I can imagine, like, if you feel like there could be a moment or a little thing or even a movement you make in that exact scene that wasn't scripted, like, it's a big risk for you to go, okay, I've got a better idea, because you don't want to disrespect the writing, you don't want to disrespect the guys that are giving you the opportunity to be that character and whatnot. But like, it must be, if you ever felt like in your career there's a moment where you're like, oh, I really thought I could do this instead. Like, I feel like this would be better. There must have been a moment.
There was a few years ago when I did a movie. Oh gosh, it was several years ago. And I actually just said, how would you feel if I said this or that? And the director was wonderful. He was actually a Korean director, from what I'm told, the equivalent of, somebody like, Brad Pitt over in Korea. Very well respected. And there were about 3 or 4 Atlanta actors that were in it. And he kind of let us just do our thing and asked us, what do you think about this? Or how would you like to? And finally, I just raised my hand at one point and said, well, this scene, it would fit for me to act this way, say it this way. And he said, do it, whatever. So that was kind of cool. I wouldn't quite do that in Cobra Kai. There was a couple of times in the second scene where Billy had smashed his head that I had made a couple of comments, and the director really just only wanted facial expressions at that point. They wanted the focus to be on the gash in his head. So kind of let that one go. But yeah.
What did you say to him when he comes like dripping blood on that like form?
It was so organic, I guess. When I saw him and it was dripping down, the skin came onto my hands and then it came out and I immediately went, ew. And then it just came out. And then I went, oh my God, Suze, really? And the director kind of laughed a little bit and he goes, let's try it without the ooh. It just came out. It was not planned. And then a couple of times I kind of looked and said something. And again, they really, truly wanted the focus to be on the gash in the head, the blood coming down, and the facial expression. Like, really, dude, again, no matter what happens, you're not getting past Caroline. So.
Wow, that's good. That's interesting because, if someone had like especially if this guy you told you're not allowed in the ICU, families only. Like you're Caroline repeated it a few times, and then you see him coming back, and now he's got like a gash, and now blood's dripping all over the desk. You're gonna feel like, man, this guy ain't giving up. Like, fair play to that. Like,
right. And that's basically what they said was, you know, you just had it with him. You know, he's gonna keep trying. And Caroline's, and so when he said, you know, come on, be a bad girl, it really was true. I was being just kind of a real, you know, B. I was not going to let him in. There was no way. He wanted so badly to go in to see Miguel because he felt responsible. You know, that was his, not his child, but, you know, a good friend and mentor. So
right.
I didn't care. He wasn't getting past me.
I think we had a question. It's kind of what we said earlier on, but Mr. Midnight, thank you for the donation, asked about how do you feel to get to work with William Zabka? I mean, we kind of said about that, but if you don't mind repeating that.
Oh, no, not at all. It was an honor. You know, like I said, when I look back and think about the Karate Kid in all those years, and, you know, and then all of a sudden I'm actually standing across from him, working with him actor to actor, I still get chills. I get chills up and down. It was so much fun. He was just, he was very interesting. You know what I mean? He didn't, like I said, he didn't try to make you feel as though you were any different than him. So it felt very comfortable, but still surreal for me. So
for sure. Yeah. Damn, I'd probably be, even if I interviewed Zabka or Ralph, like, I'll really get myself prepared, but that moment you're going to be nervous, like meeting them for the first time, all that kind of stuff. Obviously seeing the success and who they are, but like hearing they're just really down to earth people, I love that because I can talk to them on that same level rather than feeling like these guys are so much more successful, blah, blah, blah. Like, I love that about them both. And I'm just glad they're getting this sort of recognition now as well, because they really deserve it.
They do. They do. And everybody was that way. I mentioned this on an earlier interview that John, Josh, and Hayden, the boom guys, the camera guys, even Crafty, everybody that was there really truly made you feel that you were a part of their family. And once we went to the wrap party, everybody was invited. They all interacted. I kind of stood back a little bit. I didn't want to get in their space because everybody was crowding them. And actually, they came up to me. Billy came up to me, gave me a hug. Hey, thanks so much. It was great. I'm not even sure which one, if it was Hayden or John, but they said, we just edited your scene. It was great. And of course, I was walking on cloud 9. You never know when something's going to be cut on the floor. And I was excited. There was only one other scene that was just a facial expression that was cut, but the other two were in, and it felt good. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they kept that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you felt in any, if within your career, has there actually been any like things that you've shot and you're like, great, I'm going to be in it, and they've just cut it?
Yes. Do you remember? Well, you're too young for this, but Dynasty back in the late 70s, early 80s, they brought that back a few years ago, and I actually booked the pilot. I had a few scenes in it that were basically kind of shaved down. And it was during a scene where the two women were fighting. Crystal was getting ready to get married. She was younger. I think she might have even been younger than the character's daughter. So there was a lot of animosity there. And but it was fine. There was still the shot of the face and the body walking by and so on. But I still got rolling credits, which was great. And that's, just to even be a part of something iconic like that I grew up watching. And one never knows. It's still. I'm hoping it'll come back, and one never knows if I'll be back on again. It's interesting. Sure. I've heard sometimes it can go 2 or 3 years and all of a sudden you'll get called back. So I cross my fingers for everything. So.
Always, yeah. Just like you were saying earlier on, like with auditions, like you get rejected or, you constantly got to stay motivated, have thick skin. And I feel like that's a great quote there for anything in life. Like, have thick skin and keep pushing through, like don't give up. It's something that we can all really learn. So when you got into acting, like what what kind of actors and actors and like what kind of styles or interpretations of acting did you really look up to?
I mean the type of acting or the people?
Other people.
The people? Oh God. Well, I'm old school, so Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep,
Oh
Denzel,
yeah.
And they're all, I mean, I think a lot of them are pretty method, they get so
Oh
in it.
yeah.
Oh yeah. And I've studied all different types of acting, and I think that you have to, and to find your place. And I have some really, really great acting coaches.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I did a class years ago with Dustin Hoffman, and I was lucky enough to be chosen to do a scene from Jerry Maguire for him.
Oh great.
I know, this is so crazy. I haven't thought about this in a while, but for thousands of people that were able to get into his master class, it was actually, I think I was one of the first 25 that had signed up. And I thought, I would just try it. You never know. Is it goofy? Is it, interesting?
Yeah.
But it actually was amazing. There was about 25 different classes that you could watch. He was live, and then of course they taped it. But then they asked for a specific amount of people to audition for a specific Renee Zellweger's scene in Jerry Maguire, where she tells him, but I love him. And so I auditioned for it, and again, went out of town, came back home, and got a message from a friend that said, oh my gosh, you were chosen as one of two for Dustin Hoffman to critique. I thought he was lying. So I went online and I looked it up, and I clicked on it, and Dustin Hoffman actually did a video that said, hey, Suze, it's Dustin. I'm looking around going, is there anybody here that I can share this with? Oh my God, Dustin Hoffman knows my name. And he said, I just want to tell you, you did an amazing job. He said, he broke everything down from different, the scene all the way through from the beginning. It was amazing. And at the end, he said, I want you to keep going, because whatever you were feeling in that moment, whatever you were experiencing prior to that, it came through. And he said, it was incredibly organic. I'm very proud of you. And, of course, I'm just looking into the camera going, oh my God, so that was really cool.
That's
so
awesome.
I've always said, Dustin Hoffman critiqued me and said I was good. So I guess I got to keep going.
Well, it must have been, really must have motivated you to just keep going and performing better as you can. And wow, what a moment it must have been for you. And in that specific time, has that, would you say that's influenced you to where you are now in the sense someone you looked up to has pushed you, and someone you looked up to, I mean, the chances of that happening are so rare, right? And they've actually told you you're doing a good job. How did that make you feel, taking that with you?
Well, inspired. It made me feel as though that there isn't anything I couldn't do, especially at my age, because I asked him, how does one in your 40s start? Well, Cicely Tyson, I know I was watching her beautiful story, and, obviously recently passed, and they were talking about her first movie was it Rounders at 48? And I thought, okay, not comparing myself with her, but I'm saying if she can do it at 48, and that's I started about 47. So without disclosing, well, you can put two and two together now, figure out how old I am now. Now I can't say how long I've been doing it. But anyway, even the Betty Whites out there, I look at that and think, there's longevity in this business. And people say, oh, you can't do it as a female past a certain age. Well, you can't tell me no, because if you tell me no, it just makes me want to do it more.
You're defying that.
Yes, I definitely defy. Yeah, absolutely. So
I think it's the one beauty about this industry. I mean, I'm 21. A lot of people start careers, let's say in sports or art, or if they want to get into business. They say you got to start at a young age. You really have to. It really sets you up. And of course, there's with some things, longevity. It runs so it just your time comes. Oh, you got to retire. You've had your part in this sport, and yeah, you have to move on. But with acting, I feel you can do that when you're a baby. You can do that when you're 50, 60, 70. I love the fact you can just get up and start. And obviously, it's not easy to get into this industry. You got to really
Right.
you know, be passionate and love it. But I love the fact you can do this for pretty much your whole lifetime, and like the amount of things you could have gone through, things you could have tried. You can, I guess, you can really fulfill your potential as an actor. Is that something you always admired about acting and this industry? Just the fact that it has longevity.
Oh, absolutely. And I look at the female actors that started early on, like the Julia Roberts and the Merrills. They started early on, so they've got a really, really amazing long, you know, Viola Davis, Taraji.
Oh yeah.
I just think when I look at what the possibilities are, it is exciting because there are more roles now today for the older, more mature generation like myself than there ever has been. When I look at years ago, a coach told me at a certain age, there are no more roles for a lead for a female over 40. I don't believe that. And even when we talked about earlier about being Middle Eastern, and there are more roles now for women of color, for women who are not just blonde, blue-eyed, but full-blooded Lebanese, you know, African-American, Indian, Asian. It's amazing. And it's exciting that the writers are saying, no, we want this because the people are speaking and saying, we don't want to see just the cookie cutter.
Sure.
So
in Cobra Kai, I think there's a few questions in the chat. What is your favorite scene in that entire season? If you had like a few or maybe one.
Oh, Elizabeth's shoe. I mean,
Okay.
you know, I kind of grew up watching her too. And I actually was talking through DM with one of the directors and saying, you know, darn it, I would have loved to have been able to work with Elizabeth Shue. And he said, yeah, it wasn't much past, you know, your episode that she came on, but unfortunately she wasn't on set that day. And I said, well, you know, maybe next time. But yeah, seeing her walk in and the two guys look at, you know, and it brought me back to when they were 14 and 15 again. So that was really cool. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty here. Let me get rid of this. Sorry. There we go. No so when I saw her on, and nobody really knew. Nobody, I think you might have, a couple other people asked me if she was coming back, and at the time, I don't know. So I'm in the same position. But yeah. Right. I saw her walk in. I got a tear in my eye because it was so cute to watch the two of them, even though Ralph was happily married in Cobra Kai, and Billy had been dating, you know, Miguel's mom. Yeah. It was just that look on each other's face, like, she's mine, you know.
Just bringing them back to high school when Johnny literally just broken up, and in a way, like the whole Karate Kid storyline wouldn't have happened without Ali, right? Because Ali was the bridge between Johnny and Daniel meeting, and like the way they're now, like Daniel's married, he's happily married with Amanda, but he's still annoyed that Johnny is getting the upper hand with him with Ali. I think that was hilarious how they did that.
Oh, and that scene that she walked in and they kind of looked at each other and like, what are you doing? Why are you here? With the white hat. I thought he looked really sexy in that.
I love the, you know, when it was right at the end of the episode as well, because Sam is with, so Johnny's opened that new dojo, you know, Eagle Fang, and they come together at Daniel LaRusso's and they kind of want to team up against Cobra Kai. And right at the end of the episode, you see Johnny with that white suit, and then he sees Ali and he's like smiling, and then Daniel turns up, and then Johnny's face just goes all serious. And then in the finale, you probably remember well, it starts with Johnny's literally walking, or he's about to like walk in. It's that same shot, and then the guy has like literally like a tray of food, and I think it might even be spaghetti. And you remember that scene with LaRusso when he was in the kitchen and he saw he saw Ali with Johnny. And like, then, you know, he has that little accident with the waiter and he has food all over him. Johnny says, oh, I don't want that on me. I'll get all red on me, like literally paying homage to that. And I love that little reference too. And I mean, I love the way Ali was the reason why they ended up like that beef went,
Right.
In your eyes, do you think Johnny has always been like a bully to Daniel, or do you think like what side are you on, Team Johnny or Team Daniel?
Johnny.
It's probably obvious now because all the I've
No,
made it quite clear earlier on.
I love them. No, don't get me wrong. I love them both. I think it's just because I got to know him a little bit in the scene and work with him. So I really never got a chance to meet Ralph. I was in my, well, we were all in our trailers and they had a scheduling conflict that morning. So we ended up sitting a little bit longer, which actually was kind of fun because we got to talk to some other Atlanta actors. Our trailers were all lined up. So we kind of all huddled into mine. And then when I kind of snuck out to grab something, I saw Ralph talking to one of the directors. And, I would never get in their space, but just, I was like, oh, okay. Haven't seen him since he was 14 or 15 years old. Looks the same. Yeah. So.
Right. I think that's the crazy thing is like they've aged pretty well, like I can't believe I'm saying that. I think Ralph's like nearly 60. And I think Zabka is like a little bit younger, but he's in his mid-50s. Yeah. But I mean, in the show, like you can really see they've looked after themselves because they're able to do a lot of the fighting, and I think that's badass to be doing it at that age still.
Oh, they're great. I mean, listen. I did not see Ralph up close. It was maybe from here, maybe 20 feet, but he looked fit. But Billy's fit. Billy's very fit, and he does a lot of his own stuff. So yeah, he's incredibly fit.
In this show, there's obviously you got your amazing scenes with humor, as we were just talking about, and then it's karate. There's all the action. Like, what part of the show do you enjoy the most? Is it the action? Is it the storytelling? Is it the funny teenage drama or the humor? What is it that really interests you about the show when you're watching it?
I think the humor that there are some sensitive scenes in there, which I love. I love that there's different levels. But there's something about every time somebody makes a comment about a computer and Billy has no clue. And he brings the laptop back to the place that I think he pawned other things he was trying to pawn. And he didn't realize that he had to plug it in to juice up.
That was too funny because it's like, Johnny, what are you doing? Like, I'm actually what makes me curious, and you and the audience, is what has he done in that time to not even pick up a laptop, or like, does he not ever think, or do he ever get curious? Like, I can go on the internet, I can do all this stuff, but he just goes, oh, I ain't into that nerd shit. Like, it's just he brushes it off straight away.
I was snorting. I was laughing so hard at that scene because I'm looking at it, think this is 2021, and he doesn't realize he has. Okay, it doesn't work. Well, the Wi-Fi doesn't work, and he doesn't understand what Wi-Fi is in the first place. And then the phone. He just never has his phone on. And then another scene was when. Well, I probably was season 2, which was episode 10, was when he, I think, finally got on his computer onto Facebook and friended Allie. And then, of course, he didn't know because he shut the computer. He threw the phone in the ocean and didn't know until finally in the next season, he opened up the computer and saw, and he was typing, he kept typing how he was doing. She asked, how are you doing? What's been going on? And, he kept deleting and starting, and it was a cute scene. I loved it.
Oh, that was hilarious when, he gets really like into it. And I thought the message he was going to send Ali was perfect because he was really describing what he wanted to do, his motivation, being a sensei. But then he's like, nah, too long. It's like all that effort went for nothing. Then he just puts not much, or like just literally like 3 words instead of a whole paragraph. That was hilarious in a way. But I find it amazing how he's so loyal to Ali still. And I feel like, personally, I think Carmen might be better for him because Carmen's really given him that like second chance to be a father, to be a good person. And he feels like he messed up with Robbie and he wants to make sure doesn't make that mistake again with Miguel. And I love that relationship he has with Miguel. That's like that like father-son type thing. I think that's probably one of my favorite relationships in the show. Just it's very relatable for a lot of people. You know, there are a lot of. It's not even just with that relationship. It's like, even with maybe like Ali, what she was saying about her situation being divorced and you know, with being a kind of a single mom, and then like Carmen living with her mom and, you know, living with her son, no husband. It's like, I love how realistic the show is. Like, they don't seem to make it so you can't relate to these things. Like, everything in it is so it's so real, right? It's like it's almost like you're a part of it with how real it is. But like you're saying, that the humor is definitely one of the best things about this show. Like, that's obviously where John, Josh, and Hayden thrive. They're like comedians. So to see the scenes they've done with Johnny and even Daniel, and I loved it. I think it was to bring Ali back in that fashion, and to see them still arguing after 35 years. It's like, yeah, what's going on here? Like, we're not in school anymore.
Well, and it's, you know, it's in it, like I said, it's not just the comedic part of it. There, you know, there is the sensitive part, you know, when Miguel is sick and, you know, falls in the hospital, and you're thinking, oh my God, you know, they've got to bring him back. And then with the Elizabeth Shue and bringing those guys back to their 14, 15, 16-year-old, you know, age. But yeah, with my scene with Billy, it could have been a little boring scene, just, you know, with the nurse saying, no, you can't go past me. But he really lit it up with what he said about, come on, can you make an exception, you know? And then I almost felt sorry for him when I watched it. I had to watching it back. I was like, oh, come on, Caroline, please let him in. He just really wants to go in. And then he's like, come on now. Can't you be a bad girl, kind of thing. It was like, okay, he switched that up. So, you know, I asked a friend the other day, what is it that you like about the show? I just wanted to know. And they said, everything. There's so many layers to it. And the fact that you could be a 10-year-old and you could be a 70-year-old, it's got something for everyone.
It's literally all of our every generation could pretty much watch this show and find something relatable. Even like with the Kreese storyline, like there might be people who are very old and they're watching the show, and they kind of, maybe one of the two of them were in the war, and there could be a Vietnam vet that literally sees the scenes with Kreese and then goes, I know exactly how Vietnam was too. Like,
oh, yeah, that scene was crazy when they were fighting and they were trying to push them into the snakes, and that freaked me out a little bit.
The finale was I love the way they cut to, you know, the fight with Johnny and Kreese, and then to show him fighting his own captain on the verge of death. Like, you really do understand like why he's so intense with the no mercy, strike first in life. Do you think his character's justified now, or do you think there's still something you'd like to know about Kreese?
I want to see a softer side. He's a tough guy. And I know that, you know, when you look at the history of his character and where he has been in the past, I mean, you know, he had it tough. He did not have it easy. I just want to see him lighter a little bit. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. And, you know, maybe that will never happen because that has always been his MO. But I think it would be so cool, especially now that he's older, maybe falling in love. You know, who knows? That would be really cool. He's a cool guy.
I would love to see maybe like a lot of people feel, you know, the scenes with young Kreese, Barrett, and then I literally spoke to the other day, Emily, who played Betsy. Like, a lot of people believe that Betsy might still be alive. So if that's the case, it would be really nice to see Kreese have that moment where like he seems more human, because with the way he is, it's almost like he's on that same level with like Darth Vader. Like, he's so intense and so gone to that side, like he won't come back. And you know how the tragic story of Darth Vader, how he turned evil, and it's like Kreese has never had like that moment in his life where he feels like life's been good. It's always been troubling. And I mean, that he has a sad storyline. I do love the way the writers have also touched on, like you said, the sensitive side. So like, look at Johnny, like why he was a bully, and why he's now one of the most liked characters. It's just amazing how they've like flipped the script, you know, Daniel now looks a bit like he's bullying Johnny in the first season.
Yeah.
I just love how you can relate to Johnny now, and I think Johnny's probably like the main guy in the series where you're just, apart from I think him and Miguel are my favorites, but you're constantly rooting for. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some questions from the stream because loads of people are excited to ask you some stuff, and I think we've got quite a good few questions to finish on. Okay, first thing isn't a question, but someone put hashtag bring Caroline back. That has to happen. Oh, this is a lovely question. If you could work with anyone in the future, who would you like to work with?
Robbie.
Tanner. Did you not get to meet him at the party?
It was literally, it was myself and Billy, and then the crew. I didn't get a chance to work with anybody else. There was another actor from Atlanta who was waiting in her trailer, who was a nurse. And I didn't even get to do my scene with her. At the very end, I walked out of makeup and hair, and we kind of waved at each other, and that was it. So really, it was just it was Billy and myself, which was really great. I see one of them is my niece, T. Bella. Hey, Tess, that's my niece who actually.
Oh, this is your niece that asked the question. That makes okay. Well, hi.
Hi, Tess, I love you. She was amazing. She was the one that actually filmed it, and her daughter knew exactly because she had taken some theater classes. And so Bella was actually had the iPhone filming, and Tessa was actually reading Billy's part. So that was really cool. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm just looking for all the questions here.
I'm just scrolling up because I think a lot of people had put T-Bella said hello.
Well, who said that? Oh, T-Bella. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a question earlier on. I think someone was asking about, just trying to find it. Oh, Cameron Rhodes asked, do you think that Daniel and Johnny will take down Kreese and Silva? And you remember Terry Silver from Karate Kid 3? He was most likely the person that Kreese was calling at the end. Do you think Daniel and Johnny, especially where they are now with that relationship, do you think they'll be able to defeat Kreese with his best friend?
I hope so.
Same. I mean,
I'm a Daniel and Johnny fan. What can I say? Nothing against Kreese, but yeah.
Sure. Oh, I like this one. Michael Franco asks, can you tell me your best memory from working with the car? So there could be a lot there.
Oh, the best memory of being on set that day, like I said, was just being surprised at Billy's improv. Like I said, I kept second guessing myself, and I kept looking back at the script later on and going, wait, that was not in there. None of that was in there. So I loved how he was able to play and bring that scene more to life. And I do believe that it brought it more to life than it would have been.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's genius. He's wonderful.
The chief asks, who do you think is better for Johnny, Carmen or Ali? This is the good one.
I guess because of the past, I always wanted him to get back with Ali, but I don't think it's feasible. I just think they've all of a sudden become friends now again. When they were sitting on the bench and she kind of had her head. Yeah. There was not that there wasn't chemistry. There was great chemistry. I just didn't feel that sexual tension between them at that point. And I think Carmen, and I think the relationship that he has with Miguel is so incredible. And Miguel needs that. He just needs that stability. I'm still rooting for him to get back with his son, though, because it holds near and dear to my heart, because I'm divorced, and my children didn't really have a relationship with their father, and there's nothing sadder than Tanner not being close with his father on the show. So I'm hoping that they'll mend fences and come back, but I don't know. One only knows.
I'm really hoping. A lot of people think that because Carmen and Johnny are really. I mean, Carmen, when Johnny took that advice from Ali to go get him, and then he goes to see Carmen, and then he finds out what happened to Miguel. I think that scene was so important to remember that he was going to say the words "I love you" to Carmen. So I think, I mean, I've based on that, I feel like they could get married and get together. And if that's the case, imagine the consequences of that. Like, not only that's great, like he'll be an in-law father to Miguel, and obviously be the husband to Carmen, but that means Robbie's gonna have a brother, and Miguel's gonna be. It's gonna really create a lot of tension. Going, oh, you care about him more than your actual son. Like that could really cause stuff. But you know how the writers deal with it.
Well, and again, it's similar to my life where, my ex lives with his new wife and has been more of a hands-on with her children than mine. And so I get that dynamic. And so that could be a really great storyline, really great storyline. I think it would be amazing. And I really am rooting for him and Carmen. At first I was cringing thinking Carmen is going to show up at the country club, maybe,
yeah,
she's not in that line of work, but I just kept thinking, is she going to show up and is she going to have a tray in her hand? And then she's going to look and there's Johnny with Allie, as opposed to, she's thinking she's been with him. So, yeah.
Thing is, when I saw that scene, I always thought Amanda was going to meet Allie because it makes sense in that. And Carmen being part of that, yeah, that would have been quite awkward, I think, with everyone being there. But I think they dealt with it in the right way. The fact like Carmen wasn't there, and Johnny, it's like he had an ultimatum: do I sacrifice that relationship with Miguel and Carmen, which is going great, or do I, I could get back with Ali. She's single now, and that's something Johnny's wanted for years. But I respect the hell out of Johnny because he stuck to his gut and he went, no, Carmen and Miguel mean more to me than that. So I respect that the most for sure. Donovan Davis asks, who do you think is the best fighter from Cobra Kai, Evil Fang, or Miyagi-Do? Interesting.
Oh, that's a hard one.
That's like every single character in the dojo, pretty much.
Yeah, honestly, I love them all. I really do. I'm really trying to stare at that thinking, I don't know. Miyagi-Do.
I think, personally for me, I'd say the best fighter I'd say Robbie when he was a Miyagi-Do, 100%.
Yeah.
He picked it up really quick and he had that instinct to fight. Other than that, has to be Sam, because obviously she learned from Daniel her whole life. And then obviously with the other ones, like now Robbie getting to Cobra Kai, he probably is going to be the best Cobra Kai fighter because like history repeats itself. His father was once the best Cobra Kai fighter.
Right. And he does, I know I heard an interview maybe a week ago. He does his own stunts and he works really hard. He's a tough kid. It's amazing.
For sure. He did that, that scene in the juvenile detention, he flips off the wall with Sean. He actually did that.
I had to keep watching that over and over. And one of the directors had said, oh, he actually really did that. And I thought, yeah, I could tell. He's going to be someone to watch in the future. I really think.
Sure. I think it's awesome that I think he's probably like 6-7 months older than me. So I love the fact that when I get older, I'm going to see him, we're going to grow at the same age. So I'll be able to like really stay on track with his career. And I'm just so excited to see what he's going to do. Okay, I think this is the last question. Lisa Barrett asks, will you like to work with Ralph Macchio? Which you obviously are going to say.
Absolutely. How exciting would that be? We're close to the same age. So, like I said, I feel like we grew up together.
For sure.
Amazing. I still, there's a couple of us that were in season 3 and we all can kind of make up our own little storylines and think how we could come back and hoping that they'll hashtag bring Caroline back or bring the bad girl back. But yeah, you never know. Maybe they'll decide that they want me to be one of the kids' mothers or something. Who knows?
Imagine. Yeah. I think we do have one more question. Do you think Robbie and Miguel can make amends and be friends again?
I think it's going to take a while. I think kind of like, Ralph and Billy over the years.
Yeah.
They're still fighting all the time. And I love how Ralph's wife, it just kind of rolls her eyes like, really? Can you not get away from we've been out of high school for a long time,
Right, yeah.
I'm sure you haven't been through that yet, but once you go to a few of your reunions and you see the people who either bullied you or you know what I mean? Trust me, I've been there. I got bullied a little bit because of my ethnicity. They didn't really, I wasn't the typical cookie cutter, blonde, blue eyed cheerleader. And so people didn't really get me. Now all of a sudden I'm getting all these text messages and emails, and people are trying to, be a friend on Facebook. I'm like, oh, now so you want to be my friend?
Yeah, no, like it's always the way, isn't it? I think see, the thing with these guys, like they've never really been friends. Like they haven't even had a moment to sit down and talk. Like they haven't even. You remember in season 1 where Robbie sees Miguel hugging Johnny, and then when Miguel goes, right, I need to go and see Sam, goes to the Russo's house, sees Robbie, this absolute stranger, with Sam, and it's just that moment he sees them that it happens to be Robbie talking to Sam, and there's absolutely nothing between them. Just students, just people that are, learning from Daniel together. And it's so crazy how they haven't even been able to sit down and go, look, it's a misunderstanding. Not once. And the writers are really trying to drag that, I understand, because it's almost Daniel Johnny situation, and they're arguing over Sam, literally the alley to them. But I really hope next season there's a moment where probably towards the end we see like them to actually reconcile, just apologize, kind of go, I need to speak to you about stuff. We gotta get out the air. I feel like that might be maybe towards the end of the show, but I really want to see them team up, because I think it's gonna be bigger, badder people than Kreese and maybe people we didn't even know about. But I think that is. Oh, okay. We got one more question. Will Carmen forgive Robbie for what he did to Miguel?
Oh, yeah. I do. I think so. I think it's going to take time, but I think she's got an amazing heart, and you can see that in her character. There's just something about her. I really do like her, and I think there's another storyline there going too. So, sure. Tori is better for Robbie or Sam?
Oh yeah, we had this one as well.
Oh. I don't know.
That's a difficult one.
That is. I don't know. Honestly, that one I don't have an opinion on. I'm going to have to think about. That's a good question, though. Really good question. Donovan Davis. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I could maybe answer that by saying Tori's probably like, she's got quite a tough life, especially for her age, with all the things she had to deal with, looking after her mum and such. But I think Tori might make Robbie into that typical Cobra Kai student, and it's not that she means to, but she feels that's the right way because of how she's dealt with life.
She doesn't know any better.
Right. That's exactly.
And that she's one of those where you love to hate her.
Right. Yes.
Truly.
Exactly.
I mean, we never want to say hate, but
I think there's always going to be that moment with characters. You hate them for a moment, and they pull you back, and you really go, "Wow, I really feel bad enough for hating them." Like Johnny. When I was a kid, I was like, "This blonde guy is so mean to like Daniel. Why is he so mean?" And now I'm older, I'm going, "Wow, like they've really flipped it on that," and I totally get it now. And you can forgive a bully that used to pick on you, but it's like when you have that reunion, seeing them, it's always going to be weird. So I think we'll take one more question. Michael Franco said, "What is your biggest prediction for season 4?" He believes that Betsy, I think he's trying to say, was pregnant and died during childbirth, gave birth to Amanda. So Betsy being the love life to Kreese, and Amanda being the byproduct of that. That would be quite crazy.
That would be insane. I just think, my prediction would be, me personally, that I would love to see Johnny settle down a little bit, get into more of a relationship like he has with Carmen, be a better father. I think he has it in him to be a better father to his own son, but also a stepfather to Miguel. That Miguel really needs that. He really. Sure. So that for me is, I'm a romantic, so I want them to get married. Have a big, wonderful family together.
For sure.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that's
Susan, that was pretty much everything. Wow, what a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for your time, and
thank you. Wonderful. I appreciate Anytime.
Thank you very much. We had an hour together, which was really great. And yeah,
Wonderful.
I really hope we see you back in season 4 or even down the line in the future as Caroline. And yeah, I mean, you did a fantastic job in your scenes.
Thank
Good
you.
luck for the rest of your career. And have you got any projects coming up?
I'm on hold for a couple of different. I can't really say what they are. You never really know. The cool thing is you know they want you. We just don't know if it's going to line up. But yeah, I was in Teenage Bounty Hunters last summer, so I don't know if you remember that. I actually booked both of them within a week of each other, so that was really cool.
Oh,
that
great.
Came out back in June. So just keep watching. You can find me at SuzanneSalhaney.com. And hey, hashtag bring Caroline back, or actually hashtag bring the bad girl back. Be much appreciated.
Cool. Thank you very much. What I'll do is in the description, people can follow you on Instagram. They can find you on there. So I'll put that link in the description so people can check that out. And yeah, thank you for coming on again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Pretty easy to find me, Suzanne Salhaney, whether Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Thanks so much, everybody.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.